Slow robot, okay? Okay, today we're going to do a review, and it's not of this Guitar Rig 6, which I could do a review of in the future. It's pretty awesome, but I'm going to stick with rack extensions today. So there's a new delay rack extension out within the last week or two called the Ekssperimental Sounds TapeEcho MkII, the TE TapeEcho MkII. And so this is obviously a tape delay emulation. I think it may be modeled after an actual tape echo, like a specific tape echo. I'm not really sure, but I don't really care whether it's modeled. I just care if it sounds good. So we're gonna go through some of the features, some of the sounds. I'll do a little bit of guitar. I will do a little bit of synth through it and just see what it sounds like, and then I'll give a rating or a review at the end, my feelings. So I've already kind of played around with it a little bit, so I have some ideas, and I wrote down some notes here, so I may be referring to those. But let's get started. Let's see what this thing sounds like. So right now I am playing my guitar into that Guitar Rig 6 thing that you saw. This is the tone that I have right now. Didn't really spend a whole lot of time on it. It's just got a little bit of grit and compression going into the DAW, and then it's all just a Guitar Rig 6 for the actual amp tone. So that's what it sounds like. And so I have that hooked up, and let's go to our thing here, or mixer view, and just make sure we've got it sent. So I don't have it sent to the delay. I have the delay on FX Send 4, so I should be sending that now. Okay, so you can hear it. All right, cool. So the first thing that I noticed, well, maybe not the first thing that I noticed, but one of the most important things that I noticed with this right out of the gate is, if you're using this as a send effect, you want to make sure you have the direct option switched off. So right now it is switched off because I switched it off. But if you listen to this tone, actually let's turn this output level down a little bit. It's a little bit too much. It's a little better, but yeah, you want to have the direct turned off if you're in send mode, and the reason is this. So if I turn it on, you can hear it has added some phasey kind of thing. There's some kind of phasey thing going on here. I wonder if that has to do with the delay compensation. Let me turn that off and see if that makes a difference. Turn the direct back on. It helps a little bit. I'll turn that back on. Come on. There you go. So you can definitely hear a difference between the two. So yeah, that's the first thing to just be aware of. If you're using it as a send effect, don't have the direct turned on, because you're gonna get phasiness going on there, and that is probably not what you want. It may be what you want, but probably isn't most of the time. So that's the first thing. Then one thing that you probably noticed while I was playing with that is that the switches are different. They're flipped from what you normally would think of. So normally up would be on and down would be off. That is the opposite here for both of these switches. So off is up, and same thing goes for this stereo spread option here. Even though it doesn't say whether it's on or off, this is actually off and this is actually on. But we'll get into that when I kind of walk through some of the features here. So we'll do that. So the first thing that I missed when I was opening this up was trying to figure out how to set the delay time. It's very different in this unit versus a lot of other delay rack extensions and delay VSTs, because you don't have a like notched knob that you can choose your delay time with. I'm using the saturation knob as just an example of showing how normally so like normally up here in the Echo you would just use the knob here to choose your different delay lengths. It doesn't work that way in TapeEcho. It uses a short, a medium, and a long. So your 1 is your short, your 2 is your medium, your 3 is your long. And so those are fixed values, and then within that you can use this slider to get more precise. So if you want, we'll start with medium. And if we want to shorten that, we can slide this to the left. And if we want to lengthen it, we can take it to the right. And you'll notice this is one of the really cool things about it, is that this slide just sounds great. Like when you're adjusting this, it's really a smooth kind of transition from one pitch to the next, just like you would presumably experience with an actual tape echo. I say presumably because I've never used an actual tape echo, but I would imagine that would be how it would work. So that sounds awesome. While I like the fact that this allows you for a lot more, it allows for a lot more precision and fine tuning in between values. I also find it a little bit like lacking in the sense that, like, if I want to have something that's very specific, if I want a specific delay time, I have that up here and I don't have that in here. And you can get to it, so it's not like it's impossible or anything. There is on the back here, there's a time chart that shows you like different values for each of these. Like if you're synced, it'll tell you 1/32 is if you have the one position in and you have the slider all the way to the left. So that would be 1/32. And then if we wanted to do just a quarter note, we would put it in the second position with the slider in the middle. So you can get at those numbers, but I like having the option to just be like, all right, I want to, 3/8 or whatever, and just find it in, find it in a normal kind of knob. But again, the upside to this is that you can, I believe you can get some weird kind of off time while still being synced. You can shift your timing a little bit off, even though you're playing it, even though it's actually synced to playback. So that's kind of interesting. I haven't really played too much around with that, but that's, it gives you that extra flexibility that you don't have with something like this. So there's kind of like a trade-off there. It's laid out pretty well. It makes a lot of sense. You've got some basic controls here that we just went through the delay, we went through the direct, we want the stereo is pretty self-explanatory. So right now it's very wide. If I turn this off, everything's right down the center. So the linked to the stereo piece is the this option on the back. So we have options for width and offset. And from what I can tell, it seems like there, well, first thing is this width knob it starts out in the 0 position, which is in the middle, and that is, you know, basically mono. But if you go positive, you can hear it starts on the right, and I believe if I go negative, so negative 100%, I think we're going to hear it on the left first. Yeah, it starts on the left, and so that's how you kind of, if you want to favor one side or the other, you can use the width knob it adds width, and it also determines, you know, which side is going to start the delay first. And then in conjunction with that, you have the offset, which allows us to kind of go between a really balanced kind of delays, you know, kind of ping pong on both sides. So if you put it all the way up, it's just back and forth. And if you put it at a lower value without it being 0, I believe it's going to favor one side or the other. Yeah, so it's starting on the left side, and it kind of, it's a little bit stronger on the left side. So again, it gives you a lot of flexibility. So if I want to switch this, so I want it to favor the right side, I would just turn the width from the 100 or negative 100 all the way up to 100, and it should favor the right side now. Yeah, so it starts on the right and then goes to the left. So a lot of flexibility there. So while we're on the back, I like having some of these controls on the back, but I also wish, particularly the sequencer sync, I wish this was on the front. I wish the sequencer sync would be on the front. It would just, to my mind, make more sense to have it there. But I wonder if the thinking is like sequencer sync is on the back, and you're probably going to want to be looking at this time chart anyway, so might as well just put them both on the back. Maybe that's the thinking. I'd still prefer to have the sequencer sync on the front, and then have some other option to, you know, dial in these exact time settings here. So let's keep going here. So there, in the delay section, there's 2 more controls. Feedback is an obvious one. Obviously, it works just like any other delay. The higher you turn it up, the longer your stuff goes. So one thing that I did try and test out earlier is I put these, so the tone knobs, you know, are basically high passing and low passing the repeats. So if you turn them both all the way off, so the high is all the way to the top and the low is all the way to the bottom, and you crank the feedback, you can get to a point where it's starting to like self oscillate, and it's could potentially blow out your speakers. But it seems like it takes a while to get there, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just something to be aware of, I guess. But yeah, the tone controls are pretty self-explanatory also. Low cut and high cut. They're pretty subtle though, from what I can tell. Pretty subtle. But they're effective and they sound good. There is not a resonance control for either of these, so that is would be nice to have, but it doesn't really bother me too much. Let's do the low cut real quick. So you kind of have to turn them up a little bit to get them to the point where you're actually hearing it. But they're very useful. They sound good, and that's all you can ask for, right? The saturation is cool because it's a nice warm kind of Just saturate. Subtle. It's not, so you don't have like the options that you would have on the Echo with the 4 different kinds of saturation, but it sounds great. What is there sounds really nice, really warm, sounds really good. So that's awesome. And then the gain is just a way to kind of, you can drive that saturation a little bit harder. So I crank this up. You can hear it's a really, I mean, even when you're pushing it that hard, it's a really kind of nice sound. It's a nice sound and really nice sounding saturation there. Next section, the chorus section, super straightforward. It's just an intensity and a pre and a post. This sounds great too. So it's nice and chorusy. Obviously, you're probably not going to have it up that high most of the time, but it just gives you a sense of the character of it. It's a really nice, warm-sounding chorus. And then you have the output knob, obviously. The default patch is a little bit loud for my liking, especially putting it in if you're using it as an insert. It really adds a lot of gain to your signal. But obviously super easy, just turn it down a little bit. Reverb, I'm not a real big fan of this reverb, to be honest. Let's turn this chorus off. Turn the reverb up. So it's kind of and I'm biased here. It has a very, I don't know if it's supposed to be a spring reverb, but it sounds like it's supposed to be a spring reverb, and I'm not generally a fan of spring reverb, so maybe I'm just biased, but to me this does not sound like a good reverb that I would want to use. I would much rather have like a nice room or that kind of thing, a plate maybe on here, but you know, you can just turn it off and do some other routing if you need to. So that's the front panel. Again, pretty straightforward. Let's go to the back again. So we went over the stereo, we went over the sequencer sync. We did not go over this age, so this is pretty cool. So this is allowing you to kind of dial in the tapiness of the age of the tapiness of the unit. So the tape age seems like it's doing basically what you would expect as like a little bit of a high-end roll-off with maybe a little bit of extra compression and distortion, like a slight amount of saturation added. Very subtle. As long as you're not cranking it. And then there's the motor, which I like this. So this is adding, from what I can tell, just a little bit of wow. So the wow factor. I don't think it adds any flutter. So it's just I think just a sine wave warble, really. So it's pretty, and it's pretty drastic if you crank it up. hear it. But it's cool. So overall, I think this is a pretty damn solid delay. If you need a delay that sounds really incredible. Oh, last thing actually before I do is that the GUI for this thing is just awesome. I love the graphic design on this. I love the way that it's laid out for the most part. Like I said, there's some stuff that I wish would be moved around or made a little bit more clear, but overall it looks really nice, really professional, and it sounds amazing. Again, I don't care for the reverb, but other than that, all of the stuff that is in here really does sound great. So let me kind of run some let's run some synth through it just to get a sense of what that sounds like before we give it a actual rating. We want the actual echo. So add some of this. Oh, it's already at 100. No wonder it sounds like that. Okay, let's add some age to that. It's got quite a bit of saturation on it. Now if I crank this gain up, get even more. Probably want to turn the output level down a little bit there. It's a really nice sounding unit. It's just really nice the way that high cut rolls off. It's really nice. But yeah, great device. I think I don't know what the price is right now. It's like $30 or 35 or something like that, which I think is a really good deal for this. I would give this, if I kind of broke this down into different sections in terms of how I want to rate this. So there's a few different aspects. Sound quality is, of course, the top consideration. Ease of use, the GUI, the inspiration and fun factor, and then routing options. So those are the kind of 5 things that I rated it on. And so I give the sound quality a 4.5 out of 5. I took a half off because I don't like the reverb, but if you like the reverb, then you know it sounds great. So I mean, the unit sounds great. So if you like the reverb, go for it. Ease of use. This is so the ease of use and the inspiration and fun factor, those are two are also kind of weighted the same in my mind. And I gave ease of use a 3 because of the fact that you have to kind of get familiar with this delay, how the delay times are set up and that sort of thing. You know, referencing the time chart back here. And this, you know, it's not my favorite thing that the sequencer sync is on the back, but it works pretty well. It's perfectly usable. It's nothing, you know, too bad. So I gave that the ease of use a 3 out of 5. GUI just a 5. I mean, it stands above so much in the rack. It's just a really nice looking unit. So definitely a 5 for the GUI. The fun factor and the inspiration factor, I gave a 4 out of 5, and because it's just easy, for the most part, it's easy to use, and you can get from what you have in your head to an actual working sound pretty quickly. Again, the only somewhat stumbling block there can be that delay time thing if you're trying to find out a particular thing. The other thing about the delay time is, so when the sync is off, it tells you the length in terms of seconds here for you know, in the time chart, but that's, I would rather have it in milliseconds, I guess. I mean, you can translate that pretty easily, you know, in your head, but having to do that, not my favorite thing. Again, that's the one kind of downside for me on this device. And then the routing options, that's the last thing that I rated this on, and there are none. It is completely devoid of any CV inputs. Obviously you can put it into a combinator and use CV that way. But it is kind of a shame that there are no routing options on this, especially considering how good this it just sounds so good. It's so cool. Like having a CV in there for the slider and the delay settings would just be really cool. It sounds so good to just do that, just to play around with that I would love to have that on there. But again, you can use a combi for that if you want. So it's not a hard limitation, but I did have to only give it a 1 for routing options because it's, again, just inputs and outputs. And then I did, in terms of ease, one of the other considerations in terms of ease of use that I actually subtracted a little bit for was that fact that the direct knob has to be shut off if you're in a if you're using it in ascend mode. And this is especially apparent if you're using it in the presets. So if you're going through presets and pulling in those presets here, it's always going to default to this being back on. So that's kind of a pain when you have to, you know, you drag in a preset, it switches the direct back on. You have to shut it back off in order to hear it how it's supposed to actually sound. And you have to do that every time you reload a new preset. So just that would be something I wish I hope gets addressed in a future update. But overall, so the way that I weighted these, again, sound quality 4.5 out of 5, ease of use 3 out of 5, GUI 5 out of 5, the fun factor 4 out of 5, and routing options a 1 out of 5. So the way I weighted those is the sound quality is a 66% of the score, ease of use is 12%, and the fun factor is also 12%. The GUI is only 5% of the score, and the routing options are 5% of the score. So if I did my math right, this I would give this an overall score of 4.11, and which I would say is a great score. It's a really nice device. If you're in the market for a good delay that sounds awesome and really looks great in your rack, this is kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, the only small downsides are that direct knob, and then the kind of idiosyncrasies of having to learn how to set the delay time in this thing. Those are the only really minor gripes for me on this, and the reverb sound. But again, that's personal preference. So but yeah, great unit. Highly recommend it. At least demo it, see if you like it, because it's a really nice unit. And again, if it's I think it is at 35 right now on sale, like an introductory sale. If you have $35 and you're looking for a delay, you can't go wrong. So yeah, this is that's the review. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's useful, and take care.